And we're live. We are here after a humongous win for Team Tank efforts. The Lakers refuse to show up. They are boycotting today's game in the same manner I will be boycotting the Super Bowl. We have a new guy with us today, Rahul, who did not bring his doll. We'll let that pass this time. Rahul, say something about how you became a Lakers fan and something about Team Tank.
Um, so I became a Laker fan about 10 to 11 years ago when I was 8 years old. I first saw Kobe and Shaq, even though I'm from the Bay Area, like Ryan said earlier, and I just became hooked with the Lakers. So uh, I'm really thankful I became a Laker fan because I've seen them win so much over the last 10 years. So it's been nice. Um, And yeah, I'm a big fan of Team Tank now, so let's yeah.
Keep those loose losses piling.
Yeah,
Big game
absolutely.
on Friday.
Yep. So I guess we'll get into today's game. Bright spot was the loss slash win, depending on your angle. And Gary and I were talking a little bit before we went on air. Jordan Clarkson, Jeremy, I have Lynn on the brain. Jordan Clarkson somehow had a quiet 19 points, and he is really young to have a quiet 19 points, especially like when Gary said everybody is watching Laker games basically solely for his development. What do you think made him so successful today, Gary?
Well, one thing I've noticed lately, like when he first got some time early in the season, he was always trying to go 100 miles an hour, which typically young guys do. They just try and play so fast as they're trying to accommodate to the speed of the game at the NBA level. But he's really kind of going at his own speed and playing at a different pace and picking and choosing his spots better. I think today he was 6 of 13, which isn't bad. It's certainly much better than the Rockets game where I think he was 2 of 10. So he's just picking and choosing his spots a little better. I'd like to see him get some more assists, but when the Lakers shoot, so poorly, it's kind of hard to rack those up.
Right, Ryan, and anything you saw from Clarkson that had you excited?
Um, Again, the open court, his speed is it's really evident. He's a good finisher. His floater, I think he missed his only floater today, but he's been pretty good at it. He's getting consistent. For the last 5 games, he scored in double figures, and his shooting percentages are he shot 46% today, which is good. It's kind of tough on him because he's not really a natural point guard, and when like today he was playing with like Ellington and Sacre and Kelly and what was it for? I don't even know our starters right now. I can't even think of our starters.
Not
It's so
worth it.
bad.
They're not worth remembering.
Basically forced to run the offense, and a lot of times it gets stagnant. We get late in the shot clock, and someone will have to hoist up a tough shot, and a lot of his shots are like that. And I just think if he played, I don't think he hasn't played with Lynn very much that much this year. I think it would help him if he played alongside another playmaker.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd like to see a little bit more of him playing alongside another playmaker, seeing as the Lakers are considering draft if they do draft a D'Angelo Russell and he does come into the fold, it'd be good for Clarkson to get some time, some minutes playing along somebody of that nature, so that that transition's a little smoother. But Byron doesn't know anything.
I mean, if you look at it, even if say we don't get Russell or Moutier, we get like a forward, or somehow we lose our pick. I don't think Clarkson and Kobe. I think it's a pairing. I think it could work. They both can create their own shot. Clarkson his shooting has been pretty good this year, so he can space the floor for Kobe. He can his defense. He can guard ones and twos, so they can switch on screens and things like that. I really think Clarkson he's a good fit going forward.
Yeah, I like his instincts on defense a lot. Rahul, what did you take away from the game today?
So yeah, in terms of Jordan Clarkson, he made three. He was 3 for 5 from downtown. That's a great sign. In terms of his individual improvement, I think still sometimes, when the defense hedges well, when he's coming off like pick and rolls, he tends to, sometimes panic and take tough contested shots. So I think if he, works on his decision making in these type of situations, I think he'll just continue to get better.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. Do you think going forward, do you think he's going to be a point guard or a two or a combo guard? I think he'll be a combo guard. I think that's like a Lou Williams or like Mo Williams, and those I don't like either of those players, but I think that's like what their role is. I think for me that's basically what I think Clarkson could be.
Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, I think a combo guard because I mean he has the size to play either because that what they draft and what they do in free agency. If they draft, obviously a point guard like a Moutier or D'Angelo Russell, then when Kobe's gone, then those two are kind of interchangeable since they're both 6'5". But yeah, I think a combo guard is what's best for him because he's shown some solid point guard skills this year. Obviously, he needs some polishing, but he's able to play both spots, and I think you just have to take advantage of somebody when they're versatile.
Yeah, I it's kind of this new generation of point guard, though, isn't it? I mean, it's pretty rare you see a true, by definition, point guard, pass first point guard. You look at the Russell Westbrooks, you look at even a Reggie Jackson and all those guys. Even though they play for the same team, they both play quote unquote point guard, but neither of them are what I would consider true point guards. And Clarkson kind of fits that kind of mold, I would say, where he can distribute the ball. It's not necessarily his first instinct, but he can fill either role. And the great thing is the versatility that brings to the fold. And it means if he wants to play with a Kobe, he can play with a Kobe. If they want to bring in if Lynn would play alongside him, I'm sure he could slip over there to the two and look for more scoring. It'd be kind of fun to see that. But how about kind of a tough hit to take today with Jordan Hill going down early in the game? We've all been begging for the Lakers to trade Hill going on, a month it seems, all season it seems really, and now he might not be able to be moved with full value for at least a week or so. Thoughts on that?
Well, for today's game, I thought not having Hill was it was good for the tank, obviously, because last game against the Bulls, he was easily our best player, and he's honestly one of our only good players on the team. As far as like the trading him goes, I mean, depending on the injury, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how long it's going to keep him out, but I for some reason I think we're not going to trade him. We did the same thing last year with Powell and all those guys that we wanted to get traded last year, and it didn't happen. I just think the front office tends to overvalue the players we have, and they're not really willing to dump a player just for like a second-round pick, even though I'd be fine with it, and I think most people would.
Gary, you said you did a little, you researched a little bit on time framing for Jordan's injury. What did you find?
So I found, obviously it depends on the extent of the injury, which I think they'll do an MRI to kind of really scope out how bad it is. But they said what I found online was typically it's 1 to 4 weeks that a guy is out with that injury. But occasionally it can be 6 to 8 weeks or even more. So hopefully it's not the latter. But yeah, it could be something that keeps him out a while, which obviously is good. For our draft pick purposes, but you want to get some kind of asset for him in a trade, and if he's out for a long time, that kind of goes out the window. So hopefully he's not out too long. So
I'm just I hope. I mean, the Cavs made the trade last month for Shumpert, and he was injured. So I'm hoping that if he has to miss like 2 to 3 weeks, that it won't completely scare off teams from trading, because the trade deadline is the 19th or 20th. So if he's out 3 weeks, he's going to be out until after the trade deadline.
Right, right. So Rahul, what would you say? I mean, we've kind of been of the thought that he's worth at least a first rounder, but if he's dinged up, what would you say you'd be willing to take for Jordan Hill moving forward?
Honestly, if he's dinged up, then I'd be perfectly fine with a second rounder. Um, like an early to mid second rounder would be fine with me, honestly. Um, but like assuming he's not dinged up, I mean, it's surprising to me. Like a team like Oklahoma City could really use Jordan Hill. I mean, it's if you do if he I mean if he's fine, if he's not going to miss much time, and Mitch does not trade him to a team like Oklahoma City, then that would be pretty bad.
I was watching a Thunder game the other day, and Kendrick Perkins came into the game,
Oh my.
and it looked like, I mean, I could be just seeing things, but it looked like the rest of the Thunder on the court flipped off Scotty Brooks for bringing us Kendrick Perkins into the game. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, if you look at those minutes and the way he fits with Ibaka. I mean, Ibaka's shooting 3-pointers this year, and if you add Jordan Hill, who can hit that 15 to 18-foot jumper, you now have all this space for Westbrook to dive into and Durant to dive into. And man, I'd be so angry if I were Kevin Durant and I saw a piece like Jordan Hill hanging out there, and he would make the team so much better, and Perkins is just dead weight. That's got to be frustrating.
Well, like in yesterday's game, I'm looking at the box score now. Perkins, he played 20 minutes, didn't score, got 5 rebounds, and Collison, who normally is pretty solid, he's had a pretty bad year this year, and he played 17 minutes, only scored 2 points, 3 rebounds. I mean, and they have Perry Jones. They don't have a good backup big, and other than that, their bench is pretty good. Reggie Jackson's solid, although he's disgruntled, I guess you would say. And Anthony Morrow's a solid shooter, and they're fading. I mean, they're what? I mean, look, they're 4 games behind Phoenix. Phoenix they're rolling. I mean, they lost last night to Golden State, but they're playing really well right now. If they don't make a move or they don't turn it around, they're not even going to make the playoffs.
I was wondering, so I believe they have a pick to trade, either not this year, but in the future, a first rounder. Would you rather take a first rounder from OKC, or if they said, look, we will give you a conditional second rounder that you probably won't ever use, and Reggie Jackson plus a contract to make it work for Jordan Hill, or would you rather take that first round pick?
Well, for me, I like Reggie Jackson. I don't think his play over the last few weeks defines who he is as a player. I mean, the whole Waiters thing, when Waiters took his minutes and his role and everything like that. I don't think Jackson's playing the best he can right now. And also, if you get Jackson, let's say you have him the rest of February, March, April. You see how he does. If he plays well, then you go into restricted free agency with the idea that you're going to match. And if he doesn't, you could either sign and trade him in the offseason, or you just let him leave. And it's not that big of a deal if you trade Hill, a guy we were probably going to let go anyway, and then trade him and then get Jackson and then let Jackson go. It wouldn't be a huge deal. But I think the risk of bringing in a guy like Jackson's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be all for trading for Reggie Jackson under one condition, and that's not giving up draft picks.
Yeah.
As long as we give up like Jordan Hill and maybe even like Wayne Ellington or something, and just make the money work however, then I'd be fine with that, because kind of like you said, you get kind of a trial run the rest of the season, kind of get a feel for how he plays as more of a focal point of the offense, and he'd obviously decided to be a starter. I think him and Clarkson could start alongside one of 2 months to kind of scout him out, see how he does, and then see if you want to pay him this off season. And
I would also say that gives the opportunity then to see what Clarkson can do alongside another point guard, and that gives a half a year head start on developing that backcourt, and then also potentially gives you some direction where you want to look toward come draft and free agency. Um, the draft picks are. I always worry about getting a draft pick from a team like Oklahoma City because on your typical year, it's not going to be very high. It's still an asset. I'd still take whatever we can for Jordan Hill, but I just don't think the last couple weeks of Reggie Jackson, I agree with you, Ryan, they are in no way, shape, or form an indication of what he brings to the table. He's a great athlete. I thought I liked what I saw for that stretch where he was their only point guard.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's got to be weird knowing that, you know what, I don't want to grow close to these guys because I'm not going to be here next year, and they already brought in my replacement in Dion Waiters. That's got to be frustrating. I mean, could you imagine you're at your job, right? And they say, all right, not only do we not want you to play very well because, we might have to, pay you potentially, but we're going to bring in somebody. They're actually going to sit. You're going to have to share your seat at your desk, and they're going to, take half of your keyboard or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to make that work. That we'll see how that goes.
I mean, this isn't 2K where you just plug in a play like a guy like Waiters, and then you diminish a guy like Jackson's role, and everything's fine. I mean, it's like you said, it's a workplace. Team chemistry is important, and also what I was gonna say is Jackson. When you mentioned when he was the only guard at OKC, as a starter this year, when he started for OKC, he averaged 20 and 8, and his assist-to-turnover ratio was over 2-1. And I mean, you can't expect him to average that. Maybe if he started for the Lakers, but if he averages 18 and 6 or something, I mean, guys like that aren't that easy to find. And he's a good matchup. He's a good fit with Clarkson too.
And he's young.
Yeah, he's only 24.
And
Go ahead.
so so for like the long-term rebuild, would you guys prefer a guy like Reggie Jackson to Dragic, for example?
I would. Right now, as far as the rebuild goes, I like, younger guys who have a little bit more upside. I just don't think, you go with a guy like Dragic, you just don't know what kind of production he's going to give you 3-4 years down the road when Julius Randle is hitting his prime.
Well, see, the thing is if you're planning a long-term rebuild, then I would prefer Jackson. If you're going short-term, 2016 or bust type plan, I think Dragic should be a better fit. But either way, I'd be fine with either of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go Reggie Jackson as the top priority, but to me it'd be kind of like a 1A, 1B type situation. Obviously, you kind of go after both. It helps that Dragic is unrestricted, and I don't know. He just hasn't seen which it kind of leads me to believe that he is kind of willing to leave, especially since they have Bledsoe and Isaiah Thomas there now. So I think he's definitely available, but I would prefer Reggie Jackson just because of the youth, the upside, and I think that's what the Lakers need to shoot for. With Kobe going out the door, I mean, you really need to rebuild. It's going to be so hard to do this quick rebuild unless you do land you hit a home run with like a Kevin Durant or someone like that. So if you can get, guys like Reggie Jackson, just young guys with upside and build for, a long-term rebuild, I think that would be a better route to go with.
Like a guy like Moore, I actually like Brandon Knight a lot more, but he's going to be restricted. I'm pretty sure the Bucks are going to match anything. Think he's only 23 too.
Yeah, and right now they're $7 million under the cap, and
I don't see any way they don't match him unless you give him a ridiculous contract, and at that point it might not even be worth it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I looked away for a second. Who are we talking about right there?
Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight.
Okay, gotcha. Because if we were talking about KJ McDaniel, I'm fighting all of you.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll get into some of the question portion of this little shindig. First question comes from Michael Pedroza at Michael2Pedroza on Twitter here. He goes, "What's your thoughts on Jordan Hill's production on the Lakers? He has an injury right now. Hopefully it's not serious." Well, we all agree, I would say, that we hope it's not serious. One, from the Lakers standpoint, and two, from a person standpoint. I don't know if any lower person on social media than the guy who roots for people getting injured. Um, and yeah, I mean, as far as his production on the Lakers, we knew this was possible. I think half the league knew this was possible, and it's really frustrating that he's still a Laker.
In terms of his production, I mean, I don't like the player he's become. I don't like that he's kind of drifts along like the elbow area, or he looks for mid-range shots. When he was a hustle player off the bench, I thought he was a lot more effective, and I honestly never thought he would become like a mid-range shooter. I mean, he went to Arizona. I watched him play a lot, and he didn't in college. He never took jumpers or anything. He was like an offensive rebounder and like a garbage man around the rim, which I wish he would do now. But I guess it's kind of unfair to say that though, because on this team he has to take a larger role because we have no one else to create offense or do anything. So it's. But if he went to a team like the Thunder, let's say, I think he could revert back to being like a offensive rebound energy type player.
Ryan, how much do you think the play you talk about the player he developed into? What would you say? How much of that has to do with the fact that he's gone from such different coaching schemes, right? You have D'Antoni, who probably begged him to shoot outside, and now he has Scott, who's just begging him to do probably the opposite. And he's just kind of like, well, wait. I worked all off season on my jump shot. Now what?
Well, it's funny because I remember last year I think it was in training camp or media day or something. It was like there's like a tweet or something. It was like D'Antoni suggests that Jordan Hill shoots more, and then there was like a whole outrage. Oh, this D'Antoni guy's an idiot and all this stuff. And honestly, and then he didn't shoot that many mid-range jumpers last year. And then this year, when D'Antoni's gone, that's all he wants to do. So it's kind of funny to me, honestly.
Right. What do you think, Rahul?
Yeah.
About his production on the Lakers, is it fool's gold? I mean, I guess that's part of the issue for a team trading for him. I mean,
Yeah.
trading for what he's become on the Lakers or for what he is best at, which is, like Ryan said, rebounding and energy.
I think when Kobe was there this year, he ended up getting wide open jump shots on so many pick and rolls. Kobe used to set him up with some fantastic passes. He used to end up wide open. So yeah, I think he did really benefit from a lot of that. Now without Kobe here, he can't. I don't think he can consistently be that good anymore. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's not good for him as a player to continue, to try to, solely take jump shots. He should go back to, rebounding, being an energy hustle guy. I think that's far more valuable to a team, like the Thunder. Yeah, exactly. Because you won't have somebody who can set you up like Kobe could. I mean, very often.
Right. Gary, I guess I'll let you take this next question, and this comes from AFA at AFA_brain. He kind of asks a two-part question. He asked the same question here kind of twice. First, if we get Okafor, do we go for Dragic in free agency? If we go Russell, do we go for Monroe? And then to continue, if we get Russell, do we offer Monroe the max and offer Davis $4 or $5 million over 2 years with a team option his third year? So I guess the question he's asking, all in all, is how much impact does the draft have to do with the team's plans?
I was gonna say I think I need to write all that down to remember it all. But,
yeah.
But no, I think the draft. I mean, it obviously plays a huge part because unlike the NFL where free agency is first, the NBA, the draft is first. So, and the Lakers are going to have needs all over the floor. Obviously, you don't want to draft another power forward because you already have Julius Randle, but you can really draft any other position and fill a need. So the draft, free agency really hinges on the draft. If you get Jahlil Okafor, obviously you're going to look at point guards or some wing players or something like that. Or if you get a Stanley Johnson, then maybe you go after another big. I don't think Greg Monroe's the answer. I don't think he fits really well with Julius Randle because I think if you paired those two, the interior defense would be really, really soft, and you'd really need a rim protector behind Randle. So I think maybe a guy like DeAndre Jordan, if you don't draft a big guy, Andre, I wouldn't pay him max money because he's really good on one end.
So what do you guys think of? Because you brought up Monroe, Greg Monroe twice. Now I think a lot of me says that he's not a very good fit
It
with
depends on what we
Julius
draft.
Randle. What's that? Sorry, talking about Greg Monroe. We have Julius Randle, and they're very similar, right? They're both kind of elbow pinch post players. Would you go with more of a completely spread kind of offense, or would you just let Monroe do Monroe elsewhere?
Well, honestly, the Monroe and Randall offensively, I think it'd be fine. They both space the floor enough to where they let the other person have enough space to operate. They're both good passers. They're both skilled big men. It's just, as Gary said, defensively. Monroe's kind of undersized at center. He offers no rim protection. Randall doesn't offer rim protection. I mean, unless you had elite wing defenders, which, I mean, Kobe's not an elite defender by any means anymore.
Stanley Johnson and KJ McDaniels, duh.
Yeah, okay, fine. If you get those two, then yeah, maybe we'll consider it. But other than that, I mean, I like Monroe as a player. I think the fit he has now with Drummond's kind of interesting, and I don't think he wants to stay there. But I don't think the Lakers should sign him.
I have Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe on my fantasy team, and yeah, every single night one of them goes for 15 plus rebounds, and the other one gets about 10.
Yeah,
that in the playoffs, I don't think anybody wants to see Detroit in those playoffs. They're going to be good.
It sucks that they lost Jennings. He was actually starting to play well too. He had that like 24-point, 21 assist game.
Right.
He was starting to put it together, and then he tears his Achilles. It just sucks.
And then to add insult to injury, right? He did it in Milwaukee, where he developed that poor narrative that surrounded him for a while. All right, so I guess we'll wrap up on this last question. It's from Destiny Cloud at Destiny_Cloud. Your favorite player to watch all time, most exciting player to watch all time. I'm gonna because that we could go forever on that. I mean, we could all just name Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. Let's go non-Hall of Famer, most exciting player that you've ever watched.
Yeah, I'll start off. That's an easy one.
Novak. If you say
Novak, yeah. Being able to shoot from anywhere on the floor, being a LeBron stopper, all those things. It's thrilling. Trash talking, doing the discount triple check. Nothing like it.
Yeah. What do you got, Rahul?
I'm with you on that. Definitely Ron Artest, or now Meta World Peace. I mean, like, it was incredible in the 2010 playoffs. I mean, it's like he just came out of nowhere, and he saved us in so many games. I remember in the first round against the Thunder that year, he he shut down Kevin Durant basically. And then against the Jazz, I remember Game 3, the second round, he went for 20 plus points. He was on fire. Then against the Suns in the Western Conference Finals, of course, Game 5, he hit that game winner. He got that rebound and laid it up and in for the game winner. And and then of course in the finals, we all know what he did in the finals. And it was just really fun to watch, even with his personality, just kind of an erratic guy, but he was definitely a fan favorite, and I'm just so glad that he was able to put his past behind and get a ring and succeed with the team, and he's definitely one of my most favorite players.
I wonder if not for that malice at the Palace, if Ron wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. That Indiana team was really good, and they very easily could have ripped off a final there. With that core they had there with Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal, and Ron Artest. I thought they were a better team than that Detroit team that incident took place with. And then obviously he wins one with the Lakers, and he's probably one of the best on-ball defenders that the game's ever seen. I wonder if I don't think he's a Hall of Famer now, But without that, I think he might squeak in. Gary, what do you got? Who's your favorite non-Hall of Fame player that you've ever watched?
Man, there's so many. It's hard to pick out one. I'll stick with a Laker though. I really love Lamar Odom when he was with us. He brought so much to the table, and he was really the X factor. Obviously, we had Kobe and Powell. You know, they were leading the way, but without Odom, I don't think that we really win those titles. He was just so versatile and brought so much to the table, and he was just a matchup nightmare. You know, basically like a 6'10" point guard type player. I mean, he was just awesome to watch, and just a player like him is really rare to come across, and I think that's why we like Julius Randle so much, is because he has a little bit of Lamar Odom in his game. He's kind of like we talked about last time, a hybrid of Zach Randolph and Lamar Odom, and you know, I just think players like Lamar Odom, they're so rare to see. Like I said, with his size and with just his overall skill set, that you know, he was really a joy to watch, and one of my favorite Lakers.
I just, you know, as far as Randall goes, just stay away from Kardashians, Randall. Just don't even go there. And then with, as far as like the playing style, I mean, I can't think of somebody who is given more to play basketball than Lamar Odom. I mean, 6'10", handle the ball like a point guard, great vision. Yeah, I agree. He's one of my favorite Lakers of all time. Not just for being a you know, for basketball skill, but in terms of being a person. I mean, you always felt like he was, you know, completely honest with you, completely pure when he spoke. That was the
He was really popular in Laker locker rooms too. I remember guys constantly just raving about him in the locker room, and how he was really just a team favorite, and everybody seemed to get along well with him. And you know, I think obviously the chemistry took a hit once we traded him, and we've kind of gone backwards ever since. But not saying it's a direct correlation to losing him, but you know.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to stick with the Lakers too. I'm older than you guys, as we've gone over on Twitter at Nelson. But I grew up. I'm a left-handed short guy, and I grew up loving me some Nick the Quick. He was so much fun to watch. He would pull from anywhere. I remember a game in Boston. They used to have a little charity thing that, you know, they would donate X amount of money for threes he hit, and he almost broke the bank. Shaq hated him because he would just hoist three-pointers while Shaq had great post position. But yeah, there was few. There may or may not be tape of a 10-year-old Anthony Irwin running down the court doing the, you know, this after I made a three. My parents may or may not have tape. I might have asked Roger Goodell to destroy said tape. But, yeah, it's he was great. It was a bummer when he wasn't a Laker anymore. That was a devastating day in my childhood. Were you guys even alive when he was playing? I don't think Rahul was.
What year was his last year?
I
was.
This is like he played with Shaq for 1 year, so Shaq came over.
Yeah, I obviously didn't watch him live, or if I did, I was. Like,
I mean, I think I was like 1 year old, years old. So I think that was.
I was born in '92, so I was maybe like 5, 6 years old. I do remember a little bit of him playing as a Laker with him, Shaq, Eddie Jones, but not a whole lot. I was pretty young.
Yeah, they had that was one of my favorite Laker teams back then. It was before they even got Shaq. They had, you know, like Vlade, and they had Eldon Campbell, Sadeo Threet, Anthony Peeler, all those guys. That was a fun team to root for. They weren't going to win anything, and they obviously didn't. And their fortunes changed when Shaq came over. But that was a really fun team. And Anthony Peeler is another. I'm lefty biased. That's why I love me some Julius Randle, and I love me some Lamar Odom. Bring over Greg Monroe and fat Zach Randolph too, and I'm cool.
Since we're on players we like watching, and it's also pretty relevant. I like Rondo is one of my favorite players to watch, and could be a Laker next year. I honestly hope not, but he's the type of player like the front office would go for, even though he's not as good as he once was. So I'm kind of like concerned about that. and Kobe wants him too. So as much as I'll enjoy watching him play, I hope we don't sign him.
Yeah.
He might. I guess the word is today he might miss significant time damaging his exoskeleton, right? So
They're like a knee to the face, or that was bad.
that was ugly. Yeah, it was really ugly. All right. Well, on that note, talking about Boston Celtics players getting their face broken, we're gonna go ahead and sign off here. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us, Gary, Rahul, and Ryan. Thanks for getting your questions in. Go ahead and send those to either. I'm at Anthony Irwin NBA.
Or my account.
Yeah, we have at Ryan Calipire, at Rahul. You keep changing your thing, so I don't. And then at Gary Kester, and then the official, just created today with 5 minutes to go in this greatest of Lakers tank days. I created at Team Tank 15. The 15 in reference to the one and only year we're hoping the Lakers have to tank. So,
I noticed you have Byron Scott as the avatar. You might need to change it to Wes Johnson. He was terrible today.
oh man,
So bad.
he was.
We might
wow.
have to change it.
We could change it just to the Lakers logo. I mean, this year they're all tanking. So.
Yeah. As long as Ryan Kelly's not it, I'm fine with that.
I think
No, he's on it, but I'll just have to specifically say small forward Ryan Kelly.
we may anger some Lynn fans if you make the Abby Jeremy Lin.
I have to find him getting hit.
We'll be blacklisted as a racist podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll all show up here. Our next episode, we will all be wearing white hoods and talking about how bad Jeremy Lin is basketball.
Anyway.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you later, guys.
Thank you. See you.